In emerging markets like Africa, up to 80% of the population may have to rely on informally run public transport to get around, literally privately run buses and cars. But data and technology are transforming transport infrastructure across the continent. Welcome to Connecting Africa through Transport. Siposethu Ndebele is riding the Gautrain, Johannesburg's high-speed rail network, carrying out his work as he goes, logging the number of passengers boarding, disembarking and journey fares. Ndebele works for Where Is My Transport, a mobility technology company that has helped map public transport routes in 17 African countries.
The reality is that in an emerging market city, the average commuter is commuting for approximately 5 hours per day. And so when somebody asks what is the impact or why does data matter? Well, quite simply, with access to reliable information, people are able to potentially slightly shorten that journey. They're able to understand what other options are available to them in order to get from A to B.
The company's first city project started in Cape Town in 2015, where they collected information across all modes of transport using their software, which they've since customized to map networks in 29 African cities and emerging cities across the world.
The way that Where Is My Transport goes about it is a hyper-localized approach, employing people that are public transport users within the market, empowering them with our tools and technologies, and then training them to utilize these tools and technologies to both map the complete public transport network, but also continue to keep that public transport network information up to date on a day-to-day basis.
All the data gathered on public transport networks is then made available to local authorities, app developers and commuters to improve the quality of journey planning, like in the case of the Gautrain.
The data also served a much broader purpose, and that was to work with the state and enable them to make better decisions around investment into public transport infrastructure, and also better understand how the broader public transport infrastructure across the province, the public rail, the public bus system, the minibus network of informal transport operators, how all of that interconnects both with one another, but also with the Gautrain services.
Journey planning apps are one way to capitalize on transport data, and it's been put to practical use across the continent. Taking a look at the Gautrain app, the level of detail is astonishing. I can check on trains, I can look at schedules, and importantly, I can look at bus routes, making the journey from train to road a seamless one. A Ugandan entrepreneur has been looking to make bus travel across East Africa easier through creating an online bus ticketing app called Ugabus. Yuga is a local Nigerian word meaning connecting.
Every morning I wake up, I tell myself I have to offer that extra step. I have to put in place an extra infrastructure, an extra idea. So what pushes me every day is the need to make people's lives better.
The idea for a more reliable and convenient way to book buses came to Ronald Hakiza after falling prey to fake ticket sellers as he travelled across East Africa.
In total, I've been to 207 towns in East Africa. And throughout that whole process, I looked at how we struggled to buy tickets in those different towns. And I said to myself, really? In this era, something should change. So I love the fact that I'm offering a solution and so many people are using it.
Ugabus launched in 2015 to enable travellers in East Africa to search, compare and book a bus ticket in under 3 minutes. Christine Kabazira lives and works in Uganda's capital, Kampala, and is one of 12,000 of the app's subscribers.
I think it's the very first of its kind in Uganda and East Africa. So this was a very good initiative because, you know, the hassle that comes with booking buses, going to the bus and the crowds, especially now in the COVID times, the fact that you don't have to touch money. And when you confirm payment, they send you an SMS on your phone. So all you need to go is just go to the bus station and show them the SMS, and they will just take you straight to your seat.
Right now, passengers are able to book over 200 routes across 5 countries in East Africa: Uganda, South Sudan, Kenya, Rwanda and Tanzania, with Zambia being targeted next. A perk to the app is discounted tickets, often cheaper tickets than you can buy at the bus stations. But despite this, Link Bus Services based in Kampala credit Yugabus with providing up to 1,000 extra daily passengers since joining the app a year ago.
Yugabus has been beneficial in such a way that it's able to bring in passengers that we probably would never have seen. Yeah, so they go through the app. But for us, we've been ordinarily operating with passengers that walk in. So it's unique also in that way.
Ultimately, Ronald is looking to make the app a one-stop shop for all his passengers' needs, including the ability to save for future trips using the Yugabus wallet.
We're building a bus ecosystem, something that brings together the entire bus online digitally, that when you look at the bus, right from luggage to passenger travel to ticketing, to experiences, everything should come online.
I have friends from Kenya and Tanzania whom I study with. So one of these days, we shall use the Yugabus app to go there.
Some public transport buses and trains follow a formal schedule. Others are more informal, as their routes and stops are always changing. Like South Africa's minibus taxis, which account for 75% of daily transport in the country in 2020.
As the vehicle moves around its path, every 10 to 15 seconds you're able to receive its GPS coordinate.
Nigel Zwaki works for Go Metro, a technology company based in South Africa who mapped all the minibus routes in Cape Town. They tracked route distances, number of stops, and when passengers got on and off. Then collated all that data into a model of the network to propose more efficient journey routes. Zwaki has been working with local taxi associations in one of South Africa's largest townships, in Mitchell's Plain in Cape Town.
If we were to look at how we've used the data, first is developing an understanding of the earning potential of the association. The second is having a clear picture of the demand supply, how many passengers are using the service and how many vehicles are providing this service. And then the third is to develop the service design, which would see us installing trackers.
Trackers have been installed inside the taxis along one of the busiest routes in the Mitchell's Plain area.
We can take the entire vehicles operating on a daily, monthly basis, and we can actually project or forecast,
Exactly.
How much are we earning as a collective.
The tracking system enables taxi associations to monitor each vehicle's daily transactions along with journey routes and times.
Before introducing trackers into the vehicles, the associations themselves had no visibility on what the drivers did throughout the day. The association was now able to dispatch vehicles at specific times of the day with a specific schedule. That information has empowered riders to be able to know when to leave their homes and ride a taxi, thereby improving safety.
Only 2 taxi associations within Cape Town have installed vehicle trackers in their fleets. But Suwaki says the findings have been encouraging.
They have improved their efficiency by reducing costs by up to 30%. And they've reduced their fuel consumption by up to 50%. That's at an association level. At a city and planning level, we're also seeing tremendous interest in new planning frameworks, tremendous interest in applying technology in urban transport planning. So overall, my optimism is very high, but it does not come without its challenges.
Go Metro says they have successfully mapped and are rolling out tracking in Botswana, Lesotho, Rwanda, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Tanzania. "17 out of 55 countries on the African continent are landlocked, and as it's much cheaper to transport goods and people over water than by land, it can hinder a country's ability to trade. A sea coach ferry in Sierra Leone has been ferrying passengers from the international airport to the capital's mainland for years, and now it is expanding its routes and connections to neighboring Guinea. Sierra Leone's capital, Freetown, is separated from its international airport by the Sierra Leone River. For over 50 years, travelling between the airport and capital was one of the country's biggest infrastructural challenges. Until Sea Coach Express.
The airport in Sierra Leone, it's on somewhat of an island. And so when you land there, you need to get to the mainland, which is in Freetown. So you either go by road, which will take you anything about 5 hours and a lot of stress, or you can use before we had the helicopters and the hovercrafts, but all of those were pretty expensive, and the wait time was a lot. So we decided to use boats to get you across. The travel time on the boat is about 25 to 30 minutes and gets you to Freetown. So it was a way to ease the stress of people coming in and going out of the country.
Sea Coach Express has been running daily airport transfers to Freetown since 2009, gradually increasing its fleet size to 40 and annual revenue to over $32 million. It's since started operations in Nigeria, Lagos, and in February the company made its maiden voyage from Freetown to Conakry in neighboring Guinea.
The decision to go into doing international coastal trips was born out of the stress that people face, and I actually experienced when I landed in Guinea once and had to come by road here. It took us about 7 hours. I started to look, is this something we could do on the water? Turns out it's a point-to-point service. It's from Freetown to Conakry. It's almost on a straight line. It's about 65 nautical miles. The boat going at about 24 knots can do within 2.5 hours.
I do often travel between Sierra Leone and Guinea because I have a company in Sierra Leone, and a sister company of that one is based in Conakry, so I'm always between Freetown and Conakry. It's much more easier now for us traveling to Conakry. I will come to the Sea Coach, secure a ticket, then I will come inside the VIP. I will be entertained. There will be free access to Wi-Fi, and the atmosphere is always conducive for me. Most times I leave my family behind because I go to Conakry because of business, and I go normally with my partners or people working with me. So personally, I feel safe, and I think they all feel safe because it's a short journey of 3 hours, and the safety on the boat is more higher than the one on the road. So for me personally, I think it's a more safe venture to go to Conakry.
Jaji has employed 27 extra people in Guinea and 30 new staff members in Sierra Leone. From additional ferry crews to building jetty infrastructure and buying new boats, he says starting up intercoastal travel was a steep investment of about $3 million. Despite these costs, for Jaji, the biggest reward has been building livelihoods across 2 countries.
There are a few changes we put in place, and you guys will see as it is unfolding.
I think it's very gratifying when you think about the impact you've been able to create in some of the lives of our employees that were at first were not like, employed or just had one-off jobs or just did something to just get by. The opportunity to be able to train them to do something, you can see their lives improve and the lives of their family improve. It's very gratifying.
It's really, really amazing for me because it makes me learn a lot. Like me being to Guinea is my dream because that gives me permission to learn different languages there and meet different people, different character, and make new friends.
Sea Coach is aiming to transport an extra 1,600 international passengers per week on the Guinea route and to expand across the entire West African coastline by 2025.
The future for water transportation in West Africa is immense. If you look at the map of West Africa, you see most of the countries are right on the coast. If there was a lot of coastal services, you can actually decide to just go overnight travel in some of them until you get to where you're going for a fraction of the cost. The future is very big. After this first step, we're looking at the other ones. Like I said, we're going up towards Gambia and Senegal, and then later we'll come towards the big ones of Nigeria and Ghana and Cotonou along that way. There's potentials there for passenger movement, there's potential there for cargo movement. All of these things mean there are opportunities. These are problems we're having, and the way to deal with it is just to find a solution to it, and you have a big business there. Sea Coach is poised to gradually take advantage of this, and one way or the other, we're gonna intend to get there.
Welcome back to Connecting Africa. I'm at the Gautrain station here in Sandton, and when it was launched 10 years ago, it had a major impact on commuter travel, linking Johannesburg to the capital city, Pretoria, in around 35 minutes. And by road, depending on traffic, it could take you over an hour. It also is an important node in linking the major cities to the airport. Now, this is the very first standard gauge railway in South Africa, and in Kenya, the standard gauge railway there links the port city of Mombasa to the capital city, Nairobi, with the hope that it'll strengthen regional trade. Along the lush hillsides of the Aberdare Mountains, this is Kenya's tea country. Here, workers handpick row after row of Kenya's green gold. An industry that earned Kenya more than $1 billion in export revenue in 2019.
We collect green leaf on a daily basis from the farmers, from the field. The green leaf is brought to the factory where it undergoes processing. The process involves 5 steps: withering, maceration, fermentation, drying. Then the tea is stored in bins where it cools down, and then it is packaged.
The quantities are staggering. Kenya exports around 500 million kilograms of tea each year, destined for teacups in the UK, Pakistan, the Middle East, and beyond. To move that kind of volume, some of this tea took a new route to market. Kenya's Standard Gauge Railway, a $5.3 billion Chinese-built railroad connecting Naivasha and Nairobi with the port of Mombasa. It shuttles both people and cargo.
We piloted with a scheme of packing tea directly at the factory and containerizing it at the factory, where it is then transported to the inland container depot in Nairobi, and then loaded to the SGR and shipped directly to the customers.
By using the railway, the factory cut the time from production to delivery in half for its direct sales.
The farmer derives those benefits due to the foregone cost of warehousing charges, reduced transportation costs, damages, losses in transit, and the brokerage and the auctioning costs.
Since it was launched in 2017, the SGR has moved some 4 million tons of cargo along a vital transportation corridor for the region. The majority have been imports entering at Mombasa port.
Since we did this project 4 years ago, the cargo in the port of Mombasa has actually increased from 20 million tons to the current 34 million tons, notwithstanding the adverse effects of COVID. And this shows that the port of Mombasa has become more efficient because we can have a very efficient offtake system.
With the SGR, one of the things that has happened is our whole transport system has been realigned. For the longest time, very little cargo was moving by rail. Up to 95% of the cargo was moving by road, only 5% of the cargo was moving by rail. Suddenly there has been a massive shift where, as I said, for containerized cargo, from Mombasa to Nairobi, 60% of the imports are moving by rail. So it's a whole different way in which things are being done. So a lot of learning is taking place, a lot of systems are being built right now.
In a region with many landlocked countries, logistics costs can add up to 60% of the consumer price of imported basic commodities.
Any intervention which reduces cost of logistics in our region makes a big difference to what the people in our region can achieve in terms of their health outcomes and educational outcomes, as well as, to be able to save a bit more.
While the railway works to improve efficiencies, another shift is happening further down the line. The SGR project is proposed to connect Mombasa to Malaba on the border with Uganda and continue onward to Kampala, Uganda's capital city. It will further run to Kigali in Rwanda with a branch line to Juba in South Sudan.
What it will mean? Our neighboring countries will be able to move the cargo from Mombasa all the way to the border, a distance of about 1,300 kilometers in a span of about 18 hours. And this is what will bring efficiency, this is what will bring competitive advantage to the entire region.
Once complete, the railway could be a real engine for East Africa's continued growth. Well, that's it for Connecting Africa through transport. Next month, we'll be marking International Women's Day and featuring pioneering businesswomen making a mark in diverse sectors across the continent. From me, Eleni Jarkas, thanks for watching.